research for themselves. Okay, so here we go. We're live here. Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We are the Weekend by Yahuwah Assembly, Yahuwah Almighty, Yahushua Messiah. Okay, so we are going to be going into a study tonight called Differences in the Book of Numbers. So we're going to be dealing with that, and let me just exit out anything in the background here. Okay, so, all right. So to give you a very quick introduction, I mean, I have playlists on our ministry YouTube page that you can pretty much do more research for yourself, but just to kind of give you a synopsis or summary of the differences of what the LXX is, or the abbreviation LXXE you would see in your MySword app, versus the MT Masoretic text. So you have the Masoretic text, which is not just the vowel points, the actual manuscript of the Tanakh that was written composed supposedly between 700 AD to 1000 AD. That is the main source of 80 to 90% of the Tanakhs used, or the 80-90% of the translators that use that source for their translations today. Like if you have the ESV, that's a Masoretic Text Old Testament. If you have a NLT, Masoretic Text Old Testament. If you have ISV, well, ISV they'll sometimes favor the LXX, the Septuagint sometimes when the verse calls for it. So they're kind of a mix. But most of the modern translations, mind you, even the restored name translations, you can research it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. They admit to using the Masoretic text as their source, due to tradition that, they would prefer, even though it's modern Hebrew, they prefer the modern Hebrew language over Greek. So there's been a bias against the Septuagint because it's a Greek translation of an earlier Paleo-Hebrew Tanakh. And again, just to give you a synopsis of what the LXX is basically the Septuagint was, and you can look this up for yourselves, the Tanakh of the apostles. It was their Torah. It was what they used. The Tanakh that's in our modern Bibles today did not even exist in Messiah's time. So that's something to think about and research for yourselves. I don't expect you to believe me for it. Research it for yourselves. The dating, like I said, of the source of our Tanakh today only goes back to 7th century AD. Okay. The Septuagint was compiled around 300 BC to 100 BC about. So that gap of time was Genesis to Malachi. That version of Genesis to Malachi was used by Yahushua and all his disciples. The Tanakh we have today in most of our translations, it would have not been in existence back then. So, I mean, that's just a historical fact. Basically, the story of the Septuagint is Emperor, trying to remember his name, Epiphanes II. Not Epiphanes, my bad. Wrong Greek emperor. Ptolemy, thank you, Mom. Ptolemy II, a.k.a. Ptolemy Philadelphus, or Philadelphus. He was one of the horns. You know the prophecy about Daniel chapter 8?
Yes.
He would have been the son of one of the 4 generals that came after Alexander. Mm-hmm. So it was from that same dynasty that you have this Greek emperor. He was ruling in Alexandria. The Greeks took over Egypt at that point. He commissioned that the Hebrews, these Hebrew scholars, scribes, 72 is the legend of it. Yeah. 72 of them from the 12 tribes of Israel went over to Alexandria and translated their already existing Paleo-Hebrew Torah. It's speculatory whether that would have been Moshe's Torah at that point, the original Torah, but they do know it was from a Paleo-Hebrew, at least a late Paleo-Hebrew script, not modern Hebrew. And it was a Paleo-Hebrew script translated into Greek. The general consensus, it would have been translated straight into Koine Greek back then, the same language that's in the Brit Hadashah that we have. So, basically, they were very scrutinized. The reason I hold it in so high esteem is because the legend basically claims that these 72 scribes checked each other's work. They were in separate rooms translating Paleo-Hebrew into Koine Greek, and they would basically make sure there's no funny business going on. There's no, personal biases being put in the translation. And so later it became known as the translation of the 72, hence Roman numerals LXX. So 70 LXX. So that's how the Septuagint became known as the LXX. And so you're going to see here why it's important to test the differences between two. And by the way, the reason the Septuagint is not in our Bibles today is because our wonderful Protestant reformers, we can trust Judaism for the Tanakh. So, tradition, that's the problem with tradition. So again, the only denominations you would probably know of today that even use the Septuagint in their Bibles would be the Greek Orthodox canon has it. And I think the Coptics, the Egyptian Coptic Church, also uses it as their Tanakh rather than the Masoretic Tanakh. So anyway, just a short history lesson. But anyway, so first we're going to be going to Numbers chapter 1, verse 16. And we're going to see a big difference here. We're going to see in the Masoretic text, the word thousands is not there. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'm going to put my word software, which is very, very similar to eSword. I just like it better because with the compare option, it's a lot better. And I'll use a translation you guys are familiar with. I think most of us would be familiar with the ISR 2009, just to show what I'm talking about here. So let's see here. Compare. All right, compare, select modules. All right, so we're going to go with LXXE, which is the Brenton's 1851 English Septuagint. And we are going to go with the ISR 2009. And let me go to Numbers 116. I believe I just said so. Numbers 116. Okay. All right. So here we go. It says here, verse 16, these were famous men of the congregation, heads of the tribes, according to their families. These are the heads of thousands in Yahshua. Okay, my bad. I actually have to take that back. Thousands is actually there. Okay,
hey,
my
Doug,
bad.
I'm sorry. Your screen needs to be up.
Oh, it's not showing. Thank you, bro. Thank you for letting me know that. Mom, you all right? Is your leg bothering you?
No, I just had a stretch.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brother Josh, for letting me know that. So yeah, I actually made a little mistake here. I didn't realize thousands was in there too. So maybe that's just a translator issue. So let me just fix that. I'll take that away. That's a mess up on my part. Now the next bullet point I know for a fact is a difference here. You're going to see multiple times here Masoretic text when talking about numbering for war, males. Now, I don't know much about rabbinical traditions on this. There might, like I said, I would really like to look into the Talmud to see if rabbis, like in the later AD century, started thinking that women are okay to go to war. I'd be kind of interested to see if this is why they would take out males when talking about taking a census for 20 years and up for war. So I'd be kind of interested to look into this more, but you're going to see a huge difference here, starting at verse 26 in the same chapter. So let's see here. So it says, in the LXXE, it says, for the sons of Yehuda, according to their kindreds, according to their divisions, according to the houses of their families, according to the number of their names, according to their polls, all males from 20 years old and upward, everyone that goes forth with the army. Now, yes. So as you can see here, it just says, according to the numbers of names from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. So the problem here is the ISR 2009. They use the Masoretic here because the word male is not there. And it's not like pinpointed on one translation. I'm not attacking one translation. You can look at the ESV, it'll probably say the same thing. So these translators are basing the Masoretic text. And again, I don't have time to go into it, but if you research it for yourself, the Masoretic text is the standard manuscript that rabbinical Judaism trusted. You can look it up on Wikipedia. It's like right on Wikipedia, it tells you. So this is what happens when you trust the Masoretic texts. This is something that's this key to understand, especially in scripture. Definitely seems to indicate Torah does not allow women to go out to war. So to me, this is a big deal.
And men are not 18 years old either. They're 20.
Yeah, they're 20. Secularists got us going to war like 2 years before we're supposed to even go to war. So that's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So we're going to go to the next one here where males again is omitted, is Numbers 1, chapter 1, verse 28. So it says, for the sons of Issachar, according to their kindreds, according to their divisions, according to the houses of their families, according to the number of their names, according to their polls, all males from 20 years old and upward, everyone that goes forth with the army. So again, all males. No mention of males again in that verse. So we're going to move on here. I'm going to try to go through all these here. So Numbers 1, chapter 1, verse 34. So we're going to look at that right now. Okay, so, and again, I might have to renew my shared screen because it keeps freezing. Yeah, I'm seeing the comments here in the chat. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps freezing. I mean, I'm putting it on the whole screen, so it should be able to change when I change apps. I don't know why it's doing that. So Numbers chapter 1, verse 34, we're going to go to next. And if I have to, I'll manually change the shared screen every time if I have to. It's kind of ridiculous. By the way, after we do this study, I will give in the description, I will be giving a free PDF of the Brenton's English Septuagint for you guys to test for yourselves, whoever's interested. Not trying to force it on you guys, but if you want, I have a free PDF of it. So, and it's very easily to come by Septuagint online for free. There's multiple sources to get it for free. Anyway, so verse 34 here says, for the sons of Manasseh, according to their kindreds, according to their divisions, according to the houses of their families, according to the number of their names, according to their polls, all males from 20 years old and upward, everyone that goes out with the army. And again, no mention about males, so people would assume that women are allowed to go to war, which I think is a huge issue, because even I think if you look in the Hebrew, the Masoretic text, when it talks about, right, women don't put garments, I think Brother Joshua knows what I'm talking about, don't put the garments of men on.
Yeah.
That if you look into the Hebrew, it's actually more specific, and even the Masoretic text, the Hebrew of it said, what type of garments is referring to is like soldier garments. Mm-hmm. So that you would have it contradict itself to not have males there. So that to me is a pretty big issue in my opinion. So, but anyway, so let me see here. Verse 38 again omits males. Chapter 1, verse 38. All right, so we're going to go to chapter 1, verse 38. All right. Let's see here. So this is talking about the descendants of Dan here, of the tribe of Dan. The sons of Dan, according to their kindreds, according to their divisions, according to the house of their families, according to the number of their names, according to their polls, all males from 20 years old and upward, everyone that goes forth with the army. So again, no mention of the males, only the males. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go to verse 42, chapter 1. Okay, so we're going to go to Numbers 142. All right. Go back to the word software here. So, for the sons of Naphtali, according to their kindreds, according to their divisions, according to the houses of their families, according to the number of their names, according to their polls, every male from 20 years old and upward, everyone who goes forth with the army. So again, No mention of males in the Masoretic text based Tanakhs here. Yeah, yours doesn't have males, right, Mom?
Every paragraph of mine says all the men.
Oh, so your NIV is siding with the LXX then. Okay.
Yeah. Every
Okay.
paragraph.
Yeah, it does that sometimes. The NIV will do that.
No, it very often does. Yes.
Yeah, it does. It especially does that when you talk about when the Dead Sea Scrolls even agrees with the LXX in certain readings. It will the NIV and translations like that will do it. They'll actually they'll use the LXX rather than the Masoretic rendering. Let's see here. Numbers 3:3. So now we're going to Numbers chapter 3, verse 3. Masoretic text omits anointed. And again, I put a little footnote here. NIV agrees with LXX in this version. In Numbers 3, chapter 3, verse 3. So, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about, why it's important with the context. Because mind you, this, if I'm not mistaken, this is the commandments talking about anointing of the Levites. So this is pretty important to have the word anointed there. Okay, Numbers 3, verse 3. And these the names of the sons of Aaron, the anointed priests, whom they set apart to the priesthood. Oh, my bad. I made a mistake on that. I made a mistake on that. The anointed is actually there. Okay, maybe it is there in the Masoretic. Could have swore it didn't have it there. I don't know. I messed up that. That's my bad, guys. My fault. My fault. But all those verses from chapter 1 are legit differences. So that's my bad, though. Let me just fix that. Let me just delete that bullet point. That's my fault. I apologize for that. Okay. Just get that fixed there. Yeah. So let me see here. Now we're going to go staying in chapter 3, chapter 3. We're going to go to verse 9 in chapter 3. Says there's a little word difference here. You got the word agrees for the LXX. Masoretic text says his. So we're going to see if this is a significant difference here. Not too sure. I would say the ones from chapter 1 were the main differences so far, where males is not there. I don't think this one's going to be that major of a difference.
9:3.
Yeah, let's see here. You shall give the Levites to Aaron and his sons, the priests. They are given for a gift to me of the children of Yahshua. Oh. Me, my bad. I should say me versus him. Okay. So there's a little difference of, it's almost like first person versus third person. So it's almost like Yahuwah is verbatimly speaking in first person to Aaron to tell them a commandment. So it says, in the LXX version, it says, they are given to me of the children of Yahshua, where in the Masoretic it would say, they are given ones given to him from among the children of Yahshua. So someone looking at the Masoretic rendering would make the I guess argument that they're given to Aaron and not Yahuwah. But if you look at the LXX rendering, it says they're given to me. So if Yahuwah is speaking to Aaron, the me being referred to is Yahuwah there. So there's a little difference actually there in chapter 3. There's a little subtle difference there. So it would be like they're given only to Aaron versus given to Aaron and Yahuwah. So I'm gonna, so I don't know why it says agrees there. I probably forgot to put NIV agrees. Mom, does yours say given to me or to him? 3 verse 9.
Oh, there's verse 9. Okay.
Chapter 3, verse 9 of Numbers.
Give the Levites to Aaron and his sons. They are the Israelites who are to be given wholly to him.
Okay. So they side with the Masoretic on that one. Okay. Yeah. All right. So another interesting difference here, by the way, I forgot to mention this. I should have mentioned it in the beginning of this study. The Masoretes themselves that made this manuscript were very anti-Yahusha. So sometimes you'll notice in your translations, there will be things changed. Like sometimes the word of Yahuwah, it will say the word by the word of Yahuwah in the LXX, and then it will kind of be rephrased like according to the command of Yahuwah by Moses. They'll add Moses in there to kind of try to throw people off and try to don't make people realize that this is talking about Yahushua pre-incarnate here. So this is just something to keep an eye on too. So the next one we're going to is Numbers chapter 3, verse 16. So by the way, I think the Targums would actually agree with the Septuagint in this rendering too, if I'm not mistaken. So let me see here. Numbers 3, verse 16. What does yours say, Mom?
It says by the word of Yahuwah.
So the LXX, the NIV in Numbers 3:16 agrees with the LXX. Interesting. Yeah. The problem is once you get to the New Testament, that translation, that's when you got to change it, unfortunately. Yeah. So here we go. Chapter 3, verse 16. Moshe and Aaron numbered them by the word of Yahuwah as Yahuwah commanded them. All right. So it's not that different. You still have it mentioning the word of Yahuwah here, but I guess the way it's worded, it could just be the way it's worded in English, but it sounds more of like the word of Yahuwah is being worded as a command or an utterance. So the ISR 2009 says, so Moshe registered them according to the word of Yahuwah as he had commanded him. So it's like, instead of by you, the word of Yahuwah versus according to his word, like people could make the argument that that's just talking about Yahuwah's ordinances as his word, rather than the word being a person. So I don't know. That's just a little subtle difference. So anyway, here I think is going to be a big difference. This next one, we're going to verse 34 in chapter 3. You're going to see a difference in the numbering. When they're taking the census here. Okay, LXX has 6,050. Masoretic text has 6,200, so 6,200. So we're going to be going to Numbers 3, verse 34. All right, so let me change the shared screen here. Because every time I try to leave it on the whole screen to be shared, it never does it right. So kind of ticks me off that I got to constantly do this. All right, so we're going to be going to verse 34. That's right. Okay, verse 34. So Numbers 3:34. The mustering of them according to the number, every male from a month old upwards, 6,050. And the Masoretic says the number of the registered ones, all the males from I guess that's supposed to be new month old. Were a month old were and above were 6,200. So yeah, there's a difference in the numbers here of how many were a month old and upwards. So 6,050, 6,200. And again, I can't give a reason why they would want to change that other than there's some probably rabbinical tradition I'm not too aware of that they would want to change the number of that. But anyway, so let's see here. Numbers 3:39. We're going to be going there next. And I have a little note here. LXX says by the word of Yahuwah. Numbers 3:39. So we're going to go there next. Numbers chapter 3, verse 39. All right. All the numbering of the Levites whom Moshe and Aaron numbered by the word of Yahuwah according to their families, every male from a month old and upwards, 220,000. Okay, so again, not too much of a difference with the word of Yahuwah. And again, this could just be an ISR bias because it says at the mouth of Yahuwah. This could be just, their personal opinion of how they translated it. So I think other ones would be a little bit closer to the LXX. What does yours say, Mom?
The total number of Levites counted at Yahuwah's command by Moshe
Yeah.
and Aaron,
Yeah.
according to the clans.
Yeah. So to me, there seems to be a little subtle difference where the Masoretes are trying to make his word just an utterance. And this could be, again, when you research about the Masoretes, they were they kind of were very against the idea that a pre-incarnate word of Yahuwah could be a person. You started seeing that understanding, that Hebraic understanding, that the word of Yahuwah was in essence a celestial being that was the same person as Yahuwah. That seems to have later on in the AD time period, they started getting away from that understanding, and they started going more towards, oh, it's just his utterance. When it says his word is just his utterance, or when you usually try to show people this in the prophets, they'll say, oh, that he was just talking to Jeremiah, so his word came to him. That's a very common rabbinic Judaism interpretation of today. Anyway, we're going to move on here to chapter 4, Numbers 4, verse 14. We're going to look at how the Masoretic leaves out the colors blue and purple there, which they are two different words. There is an actual word that's blue there, and then there's an actual word in the Hebrew for purple. I believe the word for blue here would actually be the same word for the tassels and all that, if I'm not mistaken, for the tzitzit. So let me see here. So Numbers 4:14. Okay. Numbers 4:14. Okay. All right, Numbers 4:14. Yeah. Okay, so it says here in the LXX, they shall put upon it all the vessels which they minister upon it, and the fire pans, the flesh hooks, the cups, the cover, and all the vessels of the altar. They shall put on it a blue cover of skins, and shall put it in staffs, and they shall take a purple cloth and cover the laver in his foot, and they shall put it into a blue cover of skin. Yeah. So again, there's no mention of the blue and purple. And the Masoretic seems like it's leaving almost like half of the verse out from what it looks like. The Masoretic would read as follows, and shall put on it all the vessels by which they serve there, the fire holders, the forks, the shovels, and the basins, all the utensils of the slaughter place, and shall spread on it the covering of fine leather and insert its poles. So that seems to be a major difference there. Let's see here. Okay, we also, in the same chapter here, we have Numbers 4, verse 11, where the Masoretic text would indicate a violet color, or so to say, versus the Septuagint. When you look at the origin of the Greek word being used there, so zircoin is referring to a deep sea blue, like a zircoin stone, which again is the same Greek word used for the crespidon in the New Testament. It's talking about Yahushua's tassels that the woman with the blood issue pulled on. So, again, that's the in the Septuagint, he uses that Greek word zircoin or I think hyacinth to refer to blue. And that's the reason I don't believe it's violet, because obviously, even in the Masoretic, they use two different words, one word meaning purple, one word meaning blue. So, but there is the argument out there that the Hebrew word there means, violet and all that. So I have heard that argument out there, but so we're going to look at that real quick. Numbers 4, verse 11. We're going to look at that real quick. So, gonna go up to here. Let's see here. Okay, so it says, and they shall put a blue cloth for a cover on the golden altar, and they shall cover it with blue skin cover and put it in its staves. Interestingly enough, the ISR actually translates it as blue.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough. So even though the Brown's Driver Briggs dictionary tries to say it's violet, you have almost every translator translating that word as blue. So I find that interesting. So anyway, so moving on, don't want to focus too much time on that. All right, so we got a couple others here. We got Numbers 4:3, verse 23 and 30. Let's see. In these three verses, the Masoretic text has the number 30. In the LXX, 25. And also, to show that there's a big problem with it being 30, because in the Masoretic text of Numbers 8, chapter 8, you have it saying, I think, 24. And in Numbers 8:24, it would have 25 in both versions. So then you have a contradiction within the whole manuscript. But the LXX in all three accounts has 30. I mean, not 30, 25.
Mm-hmm.
So all three accounts, Numbers 8:24, Numbers 4:3, Numbers 4:23, Numbers 4:30, all in the LXX has 25 and up. So we're going to go to that real quick to show the issue with that, how the Masoretic text has a contradiction within itself. So we're going to first look at verse 3 of chapter 4. So let me get the screen up here. Numbers 4, verse 3. Let me see here. So it says, from 25 years old and upward until 50, everyone that goes to minister to do all the works in tabernacle witness. Obviously, it says 30 in the Masoretic right there. So now we're going to go to the next one. I think, what is the next one I said? Verse 23, did I say, Mom? I think it was 23, then 30. Mm-hmm. So let's go to 23. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah. Take the number of them from 25 years old and upwards until the age of 50, everyone that goes into minister to do his business in the tabernacle of witness or tent of appointment.
Yeah.
So again, it says 30 in the Masoretic. Yeah. So, and then we're going to go to this last one in this chapter. I'll go to Numbers 8 and show you the problem. If it says 30 here, you're going to have a problem in Numbers 8. Take the number of them from 25 years old and upwards until 50 years old, everyone that goes in to perform services in the tabernacle witness. Okay, so again, the ISR has it as 30 instead of 25. Now we're going to go to, let me just check which verse in Numbers 8. So Numbers 8:24. You're going to see how in Numbers 8:24 versions, it says 25, not 30. Okay, so this is for the Levites from 25 years old and upwards. 25 years old and upwards, they shall go into the ministry in the tabernacle witness. And ISR as well, 25.
Yeah.
So then you have it, and this, and I'm not even trying to attack on anyone, but these atheists that try to disprove the scriptures, it's funny. I don't think any of them have read a Septuagint. It's just funny. Most of the contradictions they want to bring up are usually those based on the Masoretic text when they talk about the Tanakh and all that. So, but anyway, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm just saying. So let's see here. Chapter 4, verse 30. Again, it says 20 to 50. And This is 30 to 50. I believe the context of this is different Levites for different services. There seems to be a difference why it's 20 and not 25, if I'm not mistaken. So let me just go to, let me make sure this is on the shared screen. I want to make sure this is actually active. All right, so number 4. Numbers 4, verse 30. Okay. Numbers 4, verse 30. Let me just get the shared screen on here. Numbers 4:30. Okay, 4, verse 30. Take the number of them from 25 years old. Oh, my bad. It is 25. Man, that must have been a typo of mine. So it is 25. 25 years old and upwards unto 50 years old, everyone that goes and performs the services of the tabernacle witness. And again, the Masoretic has it changed to 30 years old for some reason, which again doesn't make sense with Numbers chapter 8 saying 25 in both versions. So again, you would have a problem there. So let me just fix this. It should say 25. I don't know why it says 20, why I put 20 there. And let's see. So you got Numbers 4:35. I have a feeling all of them say 25. I just messed up. Let me just fix that real quick. So we're going to go next to verse 35 in the same chapter. Yeah. All right. So verse 35. 4:35. Okay. 4:35. All right. Scroll down here. All right. From 25 years old and upwards, the age of 50 years old, everyone that goes into minister and do service in the tabernacle of witness. And again, Masoretic, 30 years old. So these are, I can't really say it's a mistake by the manuscript when you got multiple times it's happening. And I don't think we have to go to it every time. I think you get the point about all these cross references here. They're all the same thing. So you have, I think, how many verses we went through so far, Mom, that have the problem with 25 versus 30, like 10 different verses so far?
6, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, this is, to me, this is intentional. When you got that many times it's differing like that, that's not a mistake by the scribe. That's, intentional. Now we're getting into the meatier part here. So now we're going to deal with the Masoretes in their manuscript, adding in Adonai, or even substituting it. Now, in your English translations, it will have a lowercase Lord in English. When you have the lowercase, that's the H136, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so, yeah. Go ahead, Brother Joshua.
Hey, Gil, you can unmute.
It is.
Oh.
It
I
is.
think Gil had a question.
All right. You got the LLXE. I have the LLX, but I don't have it in the English as you do. Is the Brenton the same?
Yeah. The LXXE is just an abbreviation for the fact that it's the translation of the 70 translators, the 70 scribes of the Septuagint. E just means English. So yeah, if you have a Septuagint, that's what that abbreviation would be. The LXXE in the MySword word software, almost every electronic version of it is the 1851 Brentons. And there's other modern ones. If you're more comfortable with modern English, you have the LXX 2012, which was adapted originally from the 1851 Bretton's English Septuagint. So there's modern ones out there too. I even have a physical copy of a modern Septuagint that's a little bit more modern English friendly. The Lexham English Septuagint. You have the New English translation of the Septuagint. I forget who did that, but that's like a very modern one too. There's multiple versions of it, but the ones you probably are familiar with is the LXXE, which is the Brenton's, which pretty much is on like every app that you could possibly find, like every Bible app. Yeah, so that's what the LXXE.
So would you say that the LXE Brenton is more trustworthy?
I would.
I noticed that they use the word Lord and God in the translations, which makes them no different than the King James.
Yeah, but it's also using a more trustworthy source than the King James, though. As you see, all those verses, they're using a source that actually has it where those contradictions are reconciled. So yeah, there are restored name Septuagints. If you have a problem with the Lord and God being there, I'm sure Brother Joshua could point you to where there is restored name ones.
I noticed you're using the TS 2009, the Scriptures 2009.
Yeah.
Okay, I read that, but also read the 1998, which not too much difference. But again, we see here that even the Scriptures tries to bring back the original name, which they don't really do too well of a job either way, as far as I'm concerned. But so which one is more trustworthy? I got a Lord and a God on one side, and I got a somewhat of a right name on the right side.
Yeah, my personal preference, I've dealt with English translations for a long time to where I don't even let it bother me anymore. I know like mentally what that's supposed to be there, so I don't let it bother me. Like out loud, as you heard, I'm not reading it as Lord and God. Like I've studied the Koine Greek to know where Elohim is supposed to be and where Yahweh is supposed to be. So to me, it's not a problem. I'm not. I don't. I know others. It could be a stumbling block. That's why I said if you're interested, after the study, bro, I could share. I can share a link. When it's not Sabbath, you could check out there are restored name Septuagints out there. But as far as this type of topic goes, you'll see that like the restored names is all great, but if they're using a source that has this many errors, to me that's even bigger problem. That then you're going to have contradictions in your own manuscript, and you're going to have so that's why I say, and I use the ISR too. I'm not trying to bash any translation. I just want to make that clear. I use the ISR too, but I am aware of where sometimes I have to switch to my Septuagint to get a more accurate verse.
Let me ask you, where do you get a more accurate version of the original Scriptures in Hebrew?
You can't. They don't exist anymore. The Septuagint is the closest like original paleo we'll ever get to, because what happened basically is that they got destroyed. Especially around the time of 70 AD, a lot of those Hebrew manuscripts would have been destroyed. So and like, you don't have to believe me for it. You can research it for yourselves, but I've looked into it. Other people that are even more versed in this topic have looked into it, like Michael Heiser. Many of people, even on the Christian side, have looked into it, where you cannot find a Paleo Hebrew text anywhere for the Tanakh. Masha's Tanakh has even been the actual original Tanakh has been lost at this point. So
that's basically saying that Father's word, is, Father can't take care of his word.
Well, he never says that.
That's what it is.
Hold on.
Father has his word; it's eternal. Yeah,
hold on. But he never promised
it's done away with.
Hold on. Let me answer your question, Gil. He never says in his own word that he's going to perfectly keep a copy of his word. This is not his original word. Even what Masha wrote is a copy of his utterance. So what we need to stop doing is idolizing Bibles. And when we ourselves, if we think about this literally, every Bible you have today is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. It's not his original word. So what I'm not trying to tell you this to lose faith in his word. What I'm trying to tell you is we got to be realistic here. No translation is 110% pure without bias. There's always going to be a bias because man is fallible. Man is the one translating his word, and a copy of his word at that, not even his original word. Because as far as history is concerned, Moshe's Torah has been lost. As far as history is concerned, Jeremiah's version of Jeremiah is no longer physically here. So we have copies of copies of copies down through the centuries. Like I said, you don't have to believe my word for it. You can look it up on Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia. It's all out there. It's all common knowledge at this point. We have been trained in our Christian church upbringing, especially when we got raised on the King James. Oh, it's perfect. Obviously, the King James is not perfect. Any translation that is basing this is why I don't get hung up on Lord and God thing, because there's much bigger issues with the translations out there than not having Yahuwah's name in it. So I don't get obsessed with because a translation has the tradition of LORD and GOD there physically in the text. I know what's supposed to be there. I'm more concerned with the bigger issues, the doctrinal issues that the Masoretic Hebrew has caused and has done revisionist history, has hidden Messiah from Jewish people. I mean, it's common knowledge historically what the Masoretes were doing. They were changing the text to basically hide Yahushua from people. And they were literally putting in vowel points to put Adonai in there. So in my personal opinion, the restoring of the name gets good, but just because a name is restored in a translation doesn't mean that translation is perfect without fault. So like I said, I use restored translations and I use ones that, have the false names in there. I personally, in my opinion, don't get fixated on the fact that they don't have the restored names in there, because there's much bigger issues all around. When you take the whole council of scripture, what these rabbinic, Talmudic scribes did to the scriptures, it's a lot worse than just hiding the Father's name. There's multiple topics. So I can understand where you're coming from. That's why I said, after I do the study, I'll share with you a restored name version of the Septuagint. So, but anyway, I try to not let that bother me, because there's sometimes an English translation that's not restored will have a verse that's rendered better from the Hebrew and Greek than a restored name scripture. And sometimes the translator puts his own bias into the text and tries to add his own doctrines. So just because a translation, yeah. And again, Brother Joshua, thank you for adding that in the chat. Yeah. So basically, the oldest Paleo-Hebrew fragments we have today, physically, tangibly, we can touch, are from the Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts, which is actually 100, 200 years after the Septuagint. So even the Dead Sea Scroll fragments, not whole manuscript fragments, are not even as old as the Septuagint. The Samaritan Pentateuch supposedly is another Torah that predates the Masoretic modern Hebrew text. And the Samaritan Pentateuch, I forget the percentage, I think 80% of the differences that the Septuagint has with the Masoretic, the Samaritan Pentateuch also agrees with. So so I'm just showing here, regardless of the names thing, putting the names thing aside, there's major doctrinal differences here. So that's what I'm trying to get through in this study. So I can understand where, I understand the brethren that don't want to read Lord and God in their translations. I get that. I understand that. I totally respect that. But I've gotten into, what's the word I'm looking for? A maturity in my walk, where I'm not going to let that be a hindrance to me when I'm looking for more pure versions of his word. Just because a translator doesn't want to put Yahuwah there, I'm not going to let it bother me. That's the translator's fault, not mine. So I'm not going to let it bother me, because there's, even with the restored name translators, some of them are acknowledging Adonai and putting Adonai straight into the English, a word that was not originally in the text. So, there's no perfect version of his word at this point. And the point I wanted to bring up is, nowhere in his word does he verbatimly state he will keep copies translations of his word pure, copies of his word, not his original word, copies. He never says that. Never ever says that. He never promises us that we're not going to have to dig and dig and dig and look for pure versions of his word. He never says he's going to keep a perfect copy of his word. He never says that. That's why do you think he warns people in Revelations? You add or take away from this, you won't have the right to the tree of life. The reason he said that was because he knew man was going to do it. And if he wasn't going to allow them to do it, he would have not had that written in Revelations. There would have been no point for that because he would have stopped them from doing it anyway. So when you really think about it logically, he knew it was going to happen. But anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent there. But that's all I'm trying to say. I think we should kind of just realize that restored translations are good, but that doesn't make them perfect. That's all I'm trying to say. So I use restored name Bibles. My mom can attest to that. She sees me reading from the ISR, the restored name, true name. I also have. So, but I don't emulate a translation above what it should be. I realize it's someone doing their best or claiming to do their best to translate the word. Let me just, I got background noise going on here. All right. So we're going to the next bullet point. Numbers 11, verse 28. Yahshua, son of Nun, who attended on Masha, the chosen one, said, Master Masha, forbid them. So again, I find it interesting that the Masoretic left out the chosen one. I find this interesting because there could be a reason behind this. I started really looking into the Targums, and it seems like there's an early Yahudim Hebrew tradition that Yahusha was supposed to foreshadow. Yahusha, son of Nun, was supposed to foreshadow the Messiah, the coming Messiah, if that makes any sense. So I find it interesting that LXX actually has the chosen one there, and the Masoretic leaves that out. So I wonder if that's a way that the later rabbinic scribes of the 3rd century to 7th century AD just left it out. They were like, screw that, man. We don't want anything pointing to Yahusha. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the bigger issues, putting the names thing aside. This is what I mean by the bigger issues. Okay, you have full statements omitted, full words omitted. This is the bigger issue. All right, so let me see here. We're going to go to the next one. So that was Numbers 11:28. The LXX has a chosen one. It's not there in the Masoretic. Just for fun, Mom, does your NIV actually have it there? Chosen one?
What verse, honey? I'm sorry.
Numbers 11:28.
28.
Oh, my bad. Let me also touch on that too. Let me see here. I might have to go to my eSword to show this difference here. So I don't think I have the Strong's key.
Chosen. It doesn't say chosen.
Yeah, so that means the NIV is going with the Masoretic there. Okay. Let me see here if I can show. No, I wanted to go to the eSword because eSword has all the Strong's info and all that. So if you go to the Strong's of Numbers 11:28, I believe this would be the same thing in the Hebraic Studageristia, whatever that interlinear is called, or the Hebrew interlinear, interpolated interlinear. So it should be the same in this one, where it will have Adonai in the Hebrew here, if I'm not mistaken. So it says, and Yahusha, the son of Nun, the servant of Masha, one of his young men, answered and said, Adon, Masha, forbid them. So again, Masha is being called Adon. Again, if you do your own research, you don't have to take my word for it. Adonai or Adon goes back to the Greek god of Greek mythology. Adonis goes right back to him. I got some resources for people that want to look into that don't want to take my word for it. I got plenty of info to give you guys, multiple sources for that. But Adonai, I seriously doubt that was originally in the Paleo-Hebrew scriptures. I seriously doubt that. Just because I know where that name comes from or title comes from. So Anyway, let's see here. Then we got Numbers 12, verse 11. So Numbers 12, verse 11 also has Adonai here. So we're going to go to Numbers 12, verse 11. By the way, let me just see here. Pretty sure this does the same thing too. The Hebrew Interlinear Interpolated Study Bible. Numbers 12. Okay, it says, all right, so it says, "And Aaron, my master," you look for the word of master there, or Lord in English, H113, Adon, or Adonai. Now, if you go to the Greek Septuagint, which this is an interlinear Septuagint, this is the Apostolic Bible Polyglot with Strong's numbers. Okay, so, "And Aaron said to Moshe, I beseech you, O my master."
Brother, your screen's
Kurios.
frozen.
All right.
Sorry.
So hold on, got a little background noise there for a second. So the Hebrew there has Adonai. Okay, so that's another time where it seems like the Masoretes have added Adonai to the text, is chapter 12, verse 11.
Screen was frozen, bro.
Now, if we go to Numbers 13, verse 29, the Septuagint lacks the phrase "which come of the Nephilim." I don't think this is big doctrinally, because I would assume that the post-flood giants come from giants. It's not a big deal. But I would have to say I like the fact that the Masoretic text actually literally has it there. So this is one instance where I would actually agree with the Masoretic text. And there's other ones that have it worded like that. You have the Targum on Kalos that also says "which come of the giants."
That's why they.
And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, while the Hittites and Jebusites, Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea along the banks of the Jordan. Okay. And Caleb silenced the people before Moshe and said, "Let us go up once and take possession, for we are certainly able to overcome it." Where the heck is it saying that come of the giants? I'm trying to find that verse in Numbers 13. Oh, okay. Oh, my bad, guys. It's verse 33. That's my fault. And we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, of the giants. So which come from the giants or of the giants. So it's showing you that there's no intermingling that needs to go on post flood. So you can have giants coming from giants. And we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, so we were in their eyes. So I have no problem with that phrase being there. You know, this is the one rare time I go with the Masoretic. This is but you know, because it gives a little bit more context there, since there's so many different theories of how the giants came post flood and all that. I actually like the fact that they include that there. Numbers chapter 14, verse 23, the Masoretic text omits, "but their children which are with me here, as many as not know tube or evil, every inexperienced youth, to them will I give the land." Now, that's a huge paragraph to be missing. Whoa, okay. So let's go to Numbers 14, verse 23. Numbers 14, verse 23. Okay. So in the LXX, it would read as, you know, "Surely they shall not see the land which I swore to their fathers, but their children, which are with me here, as many as know not to or evil, every inexperienced youth, to them will I give the land, but none who have provoked me shall see it." So the whole thing about children that don't know sin, that have no knowledge of sin because they're they're pure of heart at a very young age, they're allowed to go into the land. The Masoretic text leaves that out. I don't know why. Again, could be some rabbinical tradition. I definitely don't think the Catholic Church would like this verse because this shows that children don't need to be baptized. Clearly shows that they don't have knowledge of sin yet or age of accountability yet, in my opinion. You would have little toddlers who is saying, yeah, they can go into the land. Go ahead, Brother Ray.
I was gonna ask. I think you already gave me your answer, but so I was gonna ask. Do you think, like, if a baby dies or a little small child dies, that they would go into the pit, like the wrong side?
No, I don't think so because they haven't sinned yet physically. And if a child's that young that doesn't know evil, I don't think it would have a wicked thought either.
How young a child doesn't know evil?
Well, toddlers, 2-3 years old, mom, they don't know evil. They're. For the most part, they don't know evil, and that's what it's saying there. It's saying the same, but their children, which are with me here, as many as know not to were evil, every inexperienced youth, meaning inexperienced with sin, to them will I give the land. See, this is what we're not taught in Christianity. We're not taught there is an age of accountability. You're not accountable for sin when you're very young and a toddler. You know what I'm saying? This is not taught in the church. And then you got denominations, like I said, Catholicism, they'll baptize a baby for no reason. There's no reason to do that. Go ahead, Brother Joshua. Go ahead, brother.
I was gonna say that it's definitely getting worse as far as the age of people that we see in sin. But I think that was prophesied. That you have children disobeying their parents and doing this and doing that. So it's really not a surprise, but the age of where we see kids knowing sin seems to be getting younger and younger.
Also,
This,
with children,
I think Ali Shava had something.
Oh, my bad, Ali Shava. Go ahead, sister.
also, I was in childcare, so also with children being young like that, they're easily, can be taught how to unlearn like the things that they were raised in, influenced easily. So I think that's why Yahuwah had mercy on them and allowed them to go into the land.
I'm not sure they even understand what they're doing. They're just copying what they see.
Like he says, for some people, they can't enter the assembly till the third generation. I think they need to get rid of some of their bad habits and learn the right way.
Yep, I was going to add too. This version from the Septuagint seems to point and show how miraculous it is about Isaiah 11's prophecy of Yahusha, that he would be so young as a child to know right from wrong before the child is supposed to know right from wrong. I do believe there's a biblical standard for age of accountability. And there's usually that there in Isaiah 11, it says before a child should know right from wrong, he knows right from wrong. So something different about
it. David, because it was hard to speak against their hero.
Yeah. So yeah, but I thought that was a big difference there. But yeah, I really like the input that Eli Shava and the other brother put in. I really think that was great. So going back to this chapter here, go ahead, Brother Ray, before we continue. Go ahead if you have a question or comment.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you know when Elisha, because he was bald and was being made fun of by the children, do you know, does it mention how old they were? Or, I don't know. Because some people make it seem like they were really, really young. I have no idea though.
I would assume they were very young. If you talking about children that don't know good or evil, That's like a type of innocence that you would have to be very young before rebellion is entering your heart. And, even children that are today, even children that are like 6, 7 years old are rebelling from their parents. So I don't know. I think it's pretty young. I think, in my opinion, you're talking about the first couple of years of them growing up. Maybe they're, 2, 3 years old at best,
From the time a child speaks, they know the word no.
Yeah.
They know, and to me, saying no, that is a form of rebellion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but to Yahuwah, rebellion is breaking his Torah.
Okay.
So we also got to take a biblical understanding of that, Mom. Not a spiritualized, no,
I do
mommy.
know there's an age of accountability.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the age of accountability has to do with breaking literally his law.
Okay.
So, like, for example, a little 2, 3-year-old is not going to think to not keep the Sabbath.
Correct.
A little 2, 3-year-old is not going to think to lust after a little toddler girl. I'm just saying there is an age of accountability in Scripture. There is when we're talking about like literal sin, like breaking the Torah, literal sin.
Right.
So that's all I'm trying to say. That the Septuagint version of that verse seems to indicate that there is a age a toddler can be before they're accountable of sin.
Okay.
So that's all I'm trying to say. That, but anyway, Numbers 14 verse 17. Adonai. So we're going back to chapter 14. Now, if we look up to verse 17 here, the Greek word kurios, by the way, those that don't know that, when it has all caps Lord, that's Yahuwah. So it would say, and now, O Yahuwah, let your strength be exalted as you spoke, saying. Now, interesting, Yahuwah is there. So it seems like the ISR translators might have actually sided with LXX here, because if you look at the actual Hebrew, I don't think the H3068 is actually there, if I'm not mistaken. So this is where I do like certain restored name translators at least consulting with the Septuagint at the minimum, in my opinion. So let's go here. I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. I'm going to use actual Hebrew interlinear here in Numbers 14 verse 17. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Let me try to increase the font here. I don't like how the interpolated is sometimes small font. Oh wow, that's a little bit too zoomed in. I can't even see the verse numbers. Okay.
Your screen is frozen.
Oh wow. Thank you, Brother Ray and Brother Joshua. I think was already on it too in the chat. Thank you guys both. Really hate that. All right, Numbers 14 verse 17. Okay, so I'll show you here how. So it says, according to my master, where it's my master is there. I think that would be where the Adonai is. For some reason, there's no. It's weird. There's no Strongs there. It's strange. Usually the interpolated doesn't do that. Usually they have the Strongs there. So that's very sketchy that they didn't have it there. Here we go. That's what I was trying to find. For some reason they didn't have the Strongs in the Hebrew interlinear there. Here we go. So it says, and now I beseech you, let the power of my master, Adonai, lowercase Lord there, Adonai. Like I said before, if you go to the Septuagint, and now raising up high your strength, O Yahuwah, kurios. The majority of the time, kurios, that Greek word, is usually used for the tetragrammaton. It's a substitution. It's a Greek substitution for the tetragrammaton. It's the same word used in Romans 10, where it says, all who call upon the name of Yahuwah shall be saved. So it's the same exact Greek word from the New Testament. So that's the major difference there in Numbers 14, verse 17. Masoretic text omits on the Sabbath day. So this is a big difference in chapter 15 we're going to now. So Numbers 15, verse 33, and I'll show you guys. So we're going to go to chapter 15 now. Hopefully we'll get done tonight. We're pretty much halfway through, or a little bit more than halfway through right now. Masoretic text omits on the Sabbath day. So now we're going to go to Numbers 15:33. Okay. Yeah. So. So I think Sadia had to be let in again. Okay. So we're at Numbers 15, verse 33. And it says, and they who found him gathering sticks on the Sabbath day brought him to Moshe and Aaron and to all the congregation children of Yahshua all. Masoretic would say, and those who found him gathering sticks brought him to Moshe and Aaron to all the congregation. In this case, I really don't like the fact that they're not saying the Sabbath day again, because again, those that just, you'll see it on Facebook, people like make memes of like one isolated verse. If you just look at the isolated verse of itself, you're going to be wondering to yourself, unless you know Torah, why is he being punished for gathering sticks? What's going on here? But the Septuagint gives you the context in this verse by having on the Sabbath day. By the way, the Greek word there would be Sabbaton. Go ahead, Brother Joshua. Go ahead.
If you go back a verse, Septuagint, Sabbath day seems to actually be in there, verse 32.
Yeah. My only assumption is they thought it would be redundant. The Masoretes on their part thought it would be redundant, so they figured not to include it in the next verse. But at the same time, people that are new to Torah, they're if they're not reading the whole chapter and they're just reading 33 by itself, it's like, why is he being brought to Yahuwah for gathering sticks? So like, I understand where those rabbis might be coming from, but you should, if it's originally there in the text, leave it there. So I get where they're coming from. And they say it in their own books. The Masoretes, this is nothing new. They say this in their own books. They're going to change the
Context.
they
make it say whatever you want. That's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to me, that is actually something that should have been included there. I don't see any tube reason to omit that phrase. So, but so next cross-reference we have, I find interesting here, says, from the direction of the lawgiver. So before we go to that, go ahead, Brother Ray.
No, I was just interested in what you were going to say, because you were going to say that the Masoretes even say it in their own books, and then you...
Yeah, well, basically, they say we got to fix the errors of the Septuagint. So they admit in their own writings, like their own personal writings, that they were changing the text. They were messing with the text. They believe they had the right to, quote unquote, correct the Septuagint. So that's in their own works, in their own books that they've written themselves. So that's, you kind of got the battle of the scribes here, where you got, in my opinion, Jeremiah 8:8 is referring to these Masoretes rather than the scribes of the Septuagint, where, they claim to have the law, but the false pen of the scribes has worked falsehood, again, proving that if Yahuwah is saying that in his own word, that the scriptures are going to be messed with by scribes, then that means he's not promising us that it won't ever, that copies of his word, not his original word, but copies of his word would not be tainted or messed with by man, if he has it in a prophecy. So anyway, but Numbers 21, verse 18, I think is very important, because this is actually pointing to Yahuwah being the lawgiver. And if Yahuwah is the lawgiver and the person coming from Yehuda in Genesis 49 is the lawgiver, then you have Yahuwah and Yahusha as the same person. Numbers 21:18. So I'll show you guys the importance here with the phrase, the lawgiver being there. 21:18. Let's see here. So, okay, verse 18. Okay, so it says, The princes dictated. Okay, my bad. So it's not wait a minute. Son lawgiver. The word of the describer. I must be Mom, which verse in that chapter talks about the lawgiver? I think I cited the wrong verse.
I'm not sure from that.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Did you say about the water or about?
No, there's supposed to be a phrase that says the lawgiver. I'll let you sing the song as
I'm
well.
not sure.
Princess digged. All right, so I might have screwed up. I might have cited the wrong citation there, so I'll just fix that. My bad, guys. I apologize again. All right, so we're going to go next to Numbers 22:13. Now, this is the part where the Masoretic text seems to be truer to the Father's name here, which I can definitely appreciate. Definitely. Numbers 22:13. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, "Depart quickly to your master. Elohim does not permit me to go with you." So the difference here is the Masoretic actually honors the Father's name, which I do like. So I would say that's a point for the Masoretic there in that verse. Then if we go to verse 23 in Numbers 22, so now we're going to go to verse 23 in Numbers 22. So Numbers 22, verse 23. Okay. Okay. So it says, and when the donkey saw the messenger of Elohim standing opposite in the way and his sword drawn in his hand, then the donkey turned outside of the way, went to the field and smote the donkey with his staff to direct her in the way. Interesting, in the way. So obviously this is talking about Yahshua pre-incarnate. Obviously, again, the Masoretic rendering here is more accurate, having Yahuwah as the name rather than a title Elohim. By the way, the Greek theos is like the equivalent to Elohim, so that's how I know it's Elohim in the LXX. So yeah. Anyone is getting tired? Feel free, guys. I know this is a long study. I appreciate you guys staying with me as long as you have. I really do. So, but we're gonna try to finish this off here only because we're pretty much more than halfway through at this point. So, and again, I don't think I'm gonna go to it every time here because this is pretty much common sense. All these are the same here. So, verse 25, Masoretic has Yahuwah. Verse 27, Masoretic has Yahuwah. Verse 28, Masoretic has Yahuwah. Verse 31, Masoretic has Yahuwah. 23 verse 3, same thing. 23 verse 5, same thing. All right, now we're going to jump to 23 verse 6. So it says in chapter 23 verse 6, Masoretic text lacks, and the spirit of Elohim came upon him. Now this is a big difference here. So Masoretic. So
you're not changing screens.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. Number 23, verse 6. Okay. So here we go. It says, for the Masoretic, it would say in the ISR, and he returned to him and saw him standing by his ascending offering, he and all the heads of Moab. So a part of the verse is actually missing here. I'll show it. Right here at the end, it says, and the spirit of Elohim came upon him. Now, there's probably some type of rabbinical tradition because, Balaam wasn't exactly the most righteous guy, and probably the rabbis are thinking, oh, how can Yahuwah's spirit be on him?
Yeah.
And there's probably some. And isn't Balaam supposed to be a Gentile, Mom?
I think so.
Yeah, so they probably have some stupid Jewish tradition. Oh, he can't have the spirit in him. Oh no, he can't. How can someone that's not a Yahudim have the spirit? They probably have some stupid rabbinical tradition.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the context of this story here, it's all about Balaam. So it's all about a Gentile prophet, supposedly a prophet, that Yahuwah uses for his purpose. So yeah. All right. Now this is interesting. When we get to verse 8 of this chapter. So now let me change the screen here to the document. So you got Numbers 23, verse 8. So LXX has Yahuwah, Masoretic, Yahuwah Elohim. Masoretic text for some reason has Al or El and then Yahuwah, which is very weird to me. It's like reverse. It's like very weird. And it could be just the way the translations word it, but to me, that's a little weird. And the fact, what I really don't like when they put just L there, I haven't looked fully into it where this tradition started, but you also have Canaanite deities. There's a Canaanite deity that's called just El. So kind of don't like the fact that they're shorting Elohim there. I don't know where that came from. How just because it's singular, you just have like two letters, the the A and the L there, I don't know, or E or L in the Masoretic pronunciation. So to me, that's a little strange. But Numbers 23:15, LXX has Elohim, Masoretic text has Yahuwah. Numbers 23:16, LXX has Elohim, Masoretic text has Yahuwah. Numbers 23:16, LXX has Elohim, Masoretic text has Yahuwah. Okay. All right. And let's see here. Oh my goodness. Get out of here. Numbers 22:13 has Adonai. So now we're going to go to Numbers 22:13. After that, we'll be going to chapter 24. So Numbers 22:13. See here. Balaam rose up in the morning and departed quickly. Rose up in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, "Go, depart quickly to your master. Elohim does not permit me to go with you." And again, the difference here: the Masoretic has Yahuwah. Now, wait a minute. I think this is where the ISR is kind of improvising here. Let me see here. Because I'm going to go to the Strong's here. I have a feeling the ISR is trying to fix it. They're trying to fix the error of the Masoretic text here. Show you guys what I'm talking. Whoops! Why the heck did it do that? I'm trying to just move this taskbar and it does that. I don't know why it did that. Oh, gosh. All right. Sorry about that. Numbers 22:13. Yeah, so it says, Balaam rising in the morning said to the rulers, okay, so obviously Yahuwah is there in the Greek. Let me see here, my bad, not Septuagint, Masoretic text. Oh no, Yahuwah is there. All right, that's a mistake I made. Okay, my bad, guys. Yahuwah is actually there. My bad. All right, so let me fix that. 22:13, there's no difference there. All right, we're going to move on to 24, verse 7. Numbers 24, verse 7. Whoops. Why does it do that? All right. So Numbers 24, verse 7. Move up to chapter 24 here. Okay. All right. And there shall come a man out of his seed. He shall rule over many nations, and the kingdom of God shall be exalted. his kingdom shall be increased. What's weird here is that Gog is not mentioned. It says his kingdom is higher than Agag. I don't think that would be Gog, because even in the Masoretic, it's not pronounced as that. So this is Agag, or however it's pronounced, Agag or Agag. It's a little different. So it's pretty interesting to me. I think Numbers 24:7 also in the Targums say Gog, if I'm not mistaken. It seems to hint to a messianic end times prophecy of destroying Gog and Magog and all that. So it's pretty interesting. The Targums would agree with the LXX there. Let's see here. So now we're going to go back to the document. Let's see here. Chapter 25, verse 15. Masoretic text omits prince of the nation of Amoth. So the Masoretic misses a phrase here. All right, so prince of the nation of Amoth. And the name of the Midianite woman who was smitten was Chazbi, daughter of Sur, and a prince of the nation of Amoth. It is a chief house among the people of Midian. So what happens here is a huge context here in the verse here from the Septuagint. It's talking about Sur, this person Sur, known as the prince of the nation of Amoth. That's interesting to me. If you go to the ISR 1998, it mentions nothing about the prince, him being the prince of the nation of Amoth. So very interesting that they would want to leave out that historical detail.
I have chief.
Yours actually says it, huh?
Chief.
Chief, prince, same thing. So the NIV again in this verse is agreeing with the LXX. I might want to put that as a little footnote. Okay. Numbers 25, verse 17. The Masoretic text has vexed the Midianites. The LXX has plagued the Midianites as enemies. So I guess you could say vex is similar to plague, but plague seems a little bit stronger to me. And that's Numbers 25, verse 17. So let's go to there. Numbers 25, verse, 25, verse 17. Oh, my bad. I'm in the wrong app right now. Hold on. So let's see here. Why is it not showing? Yeah, that's weird. Numbers 25, 15, I said, Mom?
Think so.
25, 17, my bad. Okay, 25, 17.
This is an interesting portion, being that Moshe's wife is a Midianite, and her father.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting passage, I think. They treated you as enemies.
Plagues the Midianites as enemies and smite them. Versus distress. Oh man, I don't like that translation at all. That's kind of even worse. Distress. That definitely kind of waters it down a little bit. Yeah, that's a little pet peeve of mine. Sometimes that happens in modern translations.
Which verse are you on, Doug? I don't see your script.
25, verse 17.
17. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Midianites as enemies.
I mean, it says strike them, so at least it's letting you know they're going to kill them.
As enemies when they deceive.
Really? Your version says because they treat you as
when they
enemies?
deceive you in the
Oh, no, not next verse. Only verse 17. Just, yeah. What
I'm
does,
just reading the whole
no,
story.
I know. What's verse 17 saying in your version?
Okay,
I'm just curious.
okay.
Because so far it's been agreeing.
Treat the Midianites as enemies and kill
Mhm.
them.
Yep. Yep. So the NIV again improvises, uses the LXX there. Go ahead, Brother Joshua.
If he's telling the children of Yahshua to do this, how does the children of Yahshua plague the Midianites?
I guess by killing them. I guess that's what the plague is. I don't know. I'm assuming because it says smite them right after it. I would assume that's the plague he's referring to. Like in an allegorical sense, he's smiting them, so that would be a plague. I don't know. That's the only way I could explain why the word plague is there. But yeah, Numbers 27 verse 12. Interesting that the Masorite text omits Mount Hur, the mountain Hur. I find this interesting. So we're going to go to Numbers 27:12. Yeah, we're almost done, guys. We're getting towards the end. We're 3/4 of the way done. I know my mom's barely sticking in there. So we're almost there.
I gotta close my eyes once in a while, but I'm all right.
I gotta close my eyes once in a while.
I'm all right. I'm listening.
Oh, my mom's in rare form tonight. Oh boy. All right. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, "Go up to the mountain that's in the country beyond the Jordan, this Mount Nebo, and behold the land of Canaan, which I give to the sons of Yashrael for a possession." So interesting. Oh, my bad. I think this is the wrong verse, but that's not even a difference though. That's I found this out recently. Abarim and Nebo is like the same place. So I found that out interesting. Here we go. Verse 13, not 12. You shall see it, and you shall be at it, and also shall be added to your people. Stupid fly. As Aaron, your brother, was added in Mount Hur. So this is, to me, this is a pretty big deal because it's telling us where Aaron passed away, where probably he was buried too, most likely.
Most likely.
So again, it just says your brother was gathered. In the ISR would just say Aaron, your brother was gathered. So it's not telling you where he was gathered. To me, that's a big deal. I don't know why they would want to take that out. Maybe rabbinical tradition that he would have been buried near where Moshe and Miriam were buried. But then again, that contradicts because, if they actually thought that, because Moshe, whatever pronunciation you want to use, Moshe, Moses, he was, we don't know where he's buried anyway.
Right. They can't find his bones, right? Isn't that true?
Yeah, and scripture literally says that. So, and Miriam, I forget where she died, but I don't think she died anywhere where Aaron would have died. So anyway, so I can't even reason why they would do that, take that word out of there. So, all right. So now we're going to, let me just change the verse there. It should be verse 13, not 12. Just fix that here. Okay. Numbers 28:26. This is a little interesting difference when talking about the Festival of Weeks. The Masoretic leaves out the phrase festival of, so you wouldn't even think that it's talking about Pentecost or Shavuot, unless you Shavuot, I should say, unless you actually read the verse in context. So Numbers 28:26. So 28:26. So let's see here. So I guess the LXX would read as, on the day of new grain, when you shall offer sacrifice of weeks, and I don't know why it doesn't have festival there. That's a little weird. Hold on, let me use a different LXX. I don't like the fact that it's saying that's not in the text. I know it's in there. Hold on a second. Let me use the ABP plus here, the Apostolic Bible Polyglot. Come on, man. Stupid. All right. Numbers 28, 26. Okay, so 28, 26. And let's see here. All right, so if you look at the ABP plus, it says, and the day of no produce, whenever you should bring a sacrifice of produce to Yahuwah. Now, I want to see why they have that in italics. Okay. A period of sevens. Okay. That's why. Okay. Anyway, so I thought at first that the Masoretic was omitting the Feast of Weeks there. Okay, so after your weeks, Shavuot, but again, you could make the argument that Shavuot is talking about the Feast of Shavuot. So, I mean, you can make that argument too. The Masoretic doesn't really leave it out. It's just that it could be translated weirdly. Go ahead, Brother Joshua.
I'm gonna have to say Shabbat Shalom. Layla too.
Shabbat Shalom, bro.
I'm running on fumes, but love y'all.
Love you too, bro.
Love you, brother. Shabbat shalom. We'll see you tomorrow.
Shabbat Shalom.
Y'all really?
Tomorrow.
Y'all really?
Shabbat Shalom. All right, so we're going to move on to that. That was a mistake of mine. Numbers 32, verse 11, the Masoretic text omits, but their children which are with me here, as many as not know to or evil. Man, are these rabbis like priests? They don't want people knowing that babies don't know tube from evil? Like, what is with this? Second time this has happened in the book of Numbers. It's like, oh yeah, we got to baptize them as soon as they're born. What the gosh? I don't know why that happens like that. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. So Numbers 32, 11. Surely these men who came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward, who know tube and evil, shall not see the land which I swore to Abraham and Isaac and Yaakov, for they have not closely followed after me. Now, again, in the Masoretic, it leaves that out and it just says, not one of the men who came up from Egypt from 20 years old and above is to see the land which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, because they did not follow me completely. So again, this it's like these Masoretic rabbis, I guess, have a problem with a little child not being sinful, a little child so young that there's no way they could know of sin. You know, it's like, really? It's like they're not too much different from the popes. Like, really? Gosh. To me, that's ridiculous. I don't know why they leave that out. Okay, now we're getting to Numbers 32:25. And the Masoretic text has Adonai there, so I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Okay, so, matter of fact, I think for this purpose, I'll use the eSword program. Let me just do that real quick. So, Numbers 32:11. Okay, so let's see. I think it's parallel option, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there we go. So Numbers 32:11. Surely these men who have come, 20 years old and upward. Okay, so we already talked about that. All right, so Numbers, what is it, 32:25, my bad, 32:25. So Numbers 32:25. Okay. Wow. All right, the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad spoke to Moshe, saying, your servants will do as our master commands. Okay. Now, the problem is, once you go to the Masoretic here for master or Lord, show you what happens here. Okay, 3225. So right here, the word for Lord or Master, notice how it's lowercase, Adon. So again, you have Adon or Adonai. Okay, I think in the Bretons it would be Kurios there, or there's another Greek word that's separate from Kurios that actually means like a human master. So it's either Kurios or that other word that I can't remember off the top of my head. So the Masoretic text puts the word Adonai in there. So again, I think for those that are new to this deception, I'll include the links to where Adonai comes from after our study. I'll put it in the description of the video when this gets uploaded. All right, so we're going to move on to verse 27 here. We're almost done, guys. We're almost on the last page here. All right, so Numbers 32:27. Again, the Masoretic has Adonai. Numbers 32:6. Masoretic text has Adonai. Okay, so we're going to go to verse 12 right now. So 32 verse 12. The Masoretic text omits Kadash or set apart. So this is a pretty big deal to me. This is because now you're generalizing stuff, okay? And this shows why Yahuwah in the LXX, Yahuwah is actually explaining why Caleb and Yahusha were chosen by him. Okay, so it says, save Caleb, this is from the LXX here, son of Yephune, who was set apart, and Yahusha, son of Nun, for they closely followed after Yahuwah. So you could even say closely is not there in the Masoretic, and set apart. So I guess they just, they didn't want any extra emphasis on these two individuals. So the Masoretic text took out, it seems like, two different words. They took out the word for closely, and they took out, you could say in the Hebrew that word for completely would be closely followed. I guess you can make that argument, but the word set apart is definitely not there. Kadash is not there.
Your screen's frozen.
Oh, thank you, Brother Ray. What is going on with my screen tonight? All right, so right here is what the Masoretic is missing. What? Caleb, son of Yephune, who was set apart. So, yeah. And it makes sense because other places it says that Caleb and Yahusha had a different spirit in them. So, yeah. Numbers 32, verse 30. Masoretic text lacks to war before Yahuwah, which is interesting. So it's kind of showing that Yahuwah is like, going with them to war against their enemies. Numbers 32, verse 30. Numbers 32, verse 30. So I'm going to drop down here. Numbers 32, verse 30. But if they will not pass over armed with you to war before Yahuwah, so it's almost like it waters it down. Because the Masoretic will say if they will pass over armed with you. Doesn't mention Yahuwah being with them. So I find that a little weird. And again, I don't know a lot of these traditions of the rabbis. There could be revisionist history that Yahuwah wasn't going to be with the children of Gad and Reuben because they wanted to stay behind and have their own sin. Who knows? You never know. There's crazy rabbinic traditions out there. You never know. So, but to war before Yahuwah is not there in the Masoretic. Numbers 33, verse 9. You have the LXX saying Pikre, Marah, so different terminology there. Numbers 33, verse 12. Dovka, Rafaka, same thing with Numbers 33, verse 13. Okay, so Numbers 33, verse 18, LXX has Asheroth. Masoretic text has Hasaroth. And that could be the same place. The reason I say this, supposedly in the Koine Greek language, there's no ha sound, supposedly. So that would mean that any word in the Hebrew they're translating with the H has to be left behind. You get what I'm saying? And Z and the S are kind of similar from the Hebrew to the English. So I'm just saying it could be the same place. You take away the H, you have Asheroth, or Asaroth. So it's really the same thing. Could be the same geographical place. Numbers 33, verse 22, Machpelah versus Kehelatha. Very similar. Seems like the same place. Numbers 33, verse 23, Machpelah versus Kehelatha. So again, pretty much similar there. Numbers 33, verse 24, LXX lacks mountain. Okay. Numbers 33, 26. You have Masoretic Tahath versus Kata'a. Numbers 33, 29, Salmona, Hashmona. Same thing in the next verse in Numbers 33, verse 30. Okay. Numbers 33, 31, Benaiah. And then you have, so the Benaiah and, Benaiah would be LXX. Masoretic text has Benai Yachan. So anyway, the next verse here we have is Numbers 33, 33. Tebatha. Masoretic text has Yot Batha. Numbers 33, 34. Tebatha. And then, so the Septuagint has Tebatha, and the Masoretic text has Yot Batha. Numbers 33, 40. The Septuagint lacks south. Okay. Numbers 33, 44, Masoretic text has Ayi, Avarim. Septuagint has Guy or I. Okay, so two different places there. Numbers 33, 45, the Septuagint again has Guy, and the Masoretic text has Lim. Numbers 33, 49, Septuagint has Belsa. Masoretic text has Abel Shittim. Okay, verse 50 in the same chapter, LXX has west. Masoretic text has plains, not a big difference there. Numbers 34, verse 7, LXX has, the LXX lacks Hor, like Mount Hor, I'm assuming. Same thing in the next verse, the Septuagint lacks Hor. Also, there's a difference in names here. Masoretic text has Sadad, and Septuagint has Saradak. Verse 9 in Numbers 34. Septuagint has Dephrona, Arsenane, and lacks Anan. Masoretic text has Zephron, Hasar. Numbers 34:11. The Septuagint has Bela. Masoretic text has Riblah. Numbers 34, verse 20. LXX has Semiud. Masoretic text has Amihud. Numbers 34:22. Egli, and then you have Masoretic text Yogli. Septuagint has Sufi, and the Masoretic has Ephod. So interesting difference there. And that's pretty much it for the major differences here in the book of Numbers. I hope everyone enjoyed this study.
Question.
The earlier differences we went for before, those that were not here prior probably didn't see it. The major differences I would say are the earlier chapters in Numbers where they're big doctrinally, especially with the Masoretic text leaving out males, the word males in there for the army. So that's a big, big thing that's ignored today in Israel's army. I don't know if you ever noticed it, but women go out to war.
Yeah,
So just saying, that's a big doctrinal difference. One of the biggest doctrinal differences from earlier was the number of people being counted in the censer of Numbers 334. So all the stuff we went through earlier are like the huge differences. The fact that the colors violet and deep sea blue referring to the tabernacle are omitted from Numbers 4. The ages of when the priests are supposed to come into office, big contradiction there from the Masoretic side. So I would say, if you're saying to yourself, probably because a lot of our brothers and sisters just joined in at 3/4 of the way in, saying, that doesn't seem like very much difference. It's just the names of places. I would recommend wait until this study has been fully uploaded and is not quote unquote live anymore. Go back and rewatch this whole study. You'll see a lot of big differences earlier on that we already went through. So anyway, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank all the brothers and sisters for being so open-minded. Thank you very much. And have a great rest of your Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, all of our brothers and sisters in Yahushua.